How to stop overthinking and start living in the present. There's this moment that sticks with me so vividly. Even now, years later, I can still feel the weight of it. The heaviness that wrapped itself around my chest every time I tried to relax. It was a time in my life when I couldn't turn off my mind. A time when I was trapped in relentless, suffocating cycle of overthinking. And I remember it so well as if it was just yesterday, even though time had passed. I couldn't escape the constant buzz of thoughts like a broken record spinning endlessly. I was caught in an emotional storm and I was unable to find an anchor. Maybe you've been there. My mind was always racing, never giving me a moment to breathe. And I'd replay the past at turning every decision I had ever made over and over in my head, picking apart each and every aspect of it. And I felt like my mistakes had defined me. I'd imagine all of the possibilities of the future, terrified of what might go wrong, envisioning every worst case scenario, and often finding myself paralyzed in indecision. It was as though my thoughts had taken a life of their own, racing ahead of me, pulling me in every direction, but never towards peace. And in those moments, I couldn't enjoy the present. I'd be stuck in regret, looking back at things I wish I had done differently, or be lost in the future, worrying about things that hadn't even happened yet. If this resonates with you, let me know. And I couldn't enjoy the simple moments of life because my mind wouldn't let me. Every little thing, every tiny detail seemed like a mountain that I had to climb, a problem that needed solving. But in reality, they were just pebbles, small, insignificant things that I had somehow grown out of proportion in my anxious mind. And I felt drained all the time, emotionally exhausted from constant effort of managing my thoughts that never seemed to stop. But then something changed. It didn't happen all at once, and it certainly wasn't easy. But looking back now, I can say with confidence that I've learned to manage my mind, to make peace with the chaos inside. And it didn't come from some sudden burst of insight or from mastering some magical trick to stop overthinking. No, the shift came when I stopped trying to control my thoughts so much and instead began to change how I responded to them. The key here was, and you can relate if you're still watching this, the key was still learning to embrace the present moment. Not as some lofty ideal, but as something real, tangible, that I could experience fully. I had to let go of the need to control every thought, every decision. I had to stop looking at my past through the lens of regret and stop looking at the future through the lens of fear. Instead, I learned to sit with my thoughts without attaching much meaning to them. I began to let them come and go like waves crashing against the shore. You may have heard this before. Rather than trying to hold on to each one as if it would determine my fate. This wasn't an overnight change, I'll say. And I still struggle with overthinking at times. Who doesn't? But now, when my mind starts to race, I can recognize it for what it is, a temporary storm. I don't have to let it dictate my every single move. I don't have to let it dictate I've learned how to be present in this and enjoy the small moments, to trust that the future will unfold as it should without constant worry. Now that shift in perspective is the moment that I decided to stop fighting myself. That has been the real game changer. It is giving me the peace that I was desperately searching for. Now today we're talking about why overthinking may be preventing you from truly living in the present. The reason why many of you out there are struggling with overthinking is because you're not taking the time to be present. You may, for example, have a packed schedule. You may have a thriving career. You may have endless opportunities. But how do you actually stop worrying about every little decision and start living in the moment? This is the issue. And it's one of the hardest things to understand when your mind is always racing. But there is some good news for you. After studying countless people who have struggled with this same issue, After reading many books on the topic and doing a little bit of research and self-reflection, there is a hidden power that has helped many people stay calm and grounded and focused, no matter how much their mind tries to race ahead. So in this video, I'm going to break this down. This is a simple, powerful method for letting go of overthinking and truly living in the present moment. By the way, if you don't know already, my name is John, and I've helped other people in this regard. So let's dive in. I came across a quote recently that really stuck with me, and I wanted to share it with you guys today. The present moment is all you'll ever have. It is a simple statement, but it knocked me out of my usual overthinking pattern. I realized that my constant worry, in it, I was missing out on the beauty of the present. I had been so focused on what ifs and what could have been that I forgot to appreciate where I was and what I had in the moment. And it was like a light bulb went off. For the longest time, I had believed that overthinking would somehow help me prepare for every possible future outcome, but in reality, all it did was rob me of my peace. And it's robbing you of your peace if that is what you're doing. It wasn't true until I truly reflected on the idea of living in the present that I realized I needed to stop letting go. Start letting go of my mind, trying to control things. I needed to embrace the moment and start living in it. Once I made that decision, everything started to shift. I used to get very caught up. I used to be caught up in thinking about the past. I'd replay conversations, regretting things I didn't say or things that I didn't do, wondering how things could have gone differently. Then I'd spiral into thoughts about the future. What will happen if this doesn't work out? What if I fail? The constant mental chatter was exhausting. I felt like I was never really there in my own life. Now, this could happen to the average person on a small scale, on a large scale. Maybe it's happened to you once or twice. Every decision in our mind really boils down to this anyway, whether we see it as a problem or not. Whether we're doing well with this or not, we still feel this. But over time, as I worked through these thoughts, I began to realize that this cycle of overthinking wasn't serving me, and it wasn't preparing me for success or protecting me from any failure. It was just keeping me stuck in a loop of indecision and worry. Today, I am much better at redirecting my focus, and I'm learning just to be in the moment, and that has made a huge difference for my ability to live a more peaceful and fulfilling life. I want you to think about a time when overthinking held you back. Maybe it was a decision that you were too afraid to make because you couldn't stop considering every single possible outcome. Or maybe it was a relationship that you overanalyzed to death. Wondering if you were doing the right thing, or even if you already had your answer deep down. And I'll share with you an example from my own life. There were countless moments when I'd spend days, weeks, months overanalyzing a situation. Whether it was a job offer or a conversation with a friend, my mind would race with doubts and questions, and I would replay every word, trying to figure out the right decision. But all it did was leave me feeling exhausted and stuck. But eventually I realized that all that overthinking wasn't even helping. It wasn't moving me forward. In fact, it was holding me back. It was holding me in place. So I began to practice something different, letting go of the need to control every single outcome. I learned that the only thing that I could truly control was how I chose to respond to the present moment. And that realization was freeing, and it is something that many people don't attain until very much later on in life. And I know I'm not alone in this. So many of us struggle with overthinking, believing that it's necessary to figure everything out, all of it, before taking any action. We think that overanalyzing every possible angle we'll find the perfect solution, but that's not how life works. Real growth happens when you take action despite uncertainty. It happens when we stop waiting for the perfect moment to start and simply begin, knowing that we can adjust along the way. I'm not sharing this to make anyone feel sorry for me or to say that I'm perfect, but I'm opening up because I know exactly what it's like to feel trapped in your own thoughts. Constantly worrying about making the wrong decision or missing out on something. Here's the thing. Overthinking doesn't protect you from failure. It just prevents you from moving forward. It keeps you stuck in a mental loop of uncertainty, and it's the only way to break free is by letting go of the need to control every single outcome. So, here is what I've learned. The key to overcoming overthinking is to shift your focus. Instead of trying to control every single possible scenario, focus on what you can do right now. Focus on what's in front of you and make the best decision that you can with the information that you have. The more that you practice this, the more natural it becomes. The more you realize that the present moment is all that you can truly control. The less power that your thoughts have over you. So, the biggest shift that I made in mindset happened when I stopped trying to predict the future or change the past. Instead, I started to appreciate what was happening in the present moment. When I feel myself getting caught in a cycle of overthinking, I remind myself that the moment I'm in is all that matters. And I say that slowed down on purpose. I stop worrying about things that are to come and focus on the here and now. So let me ask you this. How do you spend and why do you spend so much time overthinking? Is it because you believe that it will help you avoid mistakes? Make the perfect decision? If so, you're missing the point. Life is not about being perfect. It's not about overthinking. Overthinking will never bring you peace. The key to overcoming it is realizing that you can't control everything, but you can always control how you respond to the present moment. Think about a time when you stopped overthinking and just took action. Maybe it was starting a new project, having a difficult conversation with somebody, or simply allowing yourself to enjoy a moment of peace without overanalyzing it. When you stopped overthinking and just took action, you probably felt more alive, more at ease, and that is the power of being present. I can relate to that. There were times in my life when I overthought everything, every decision, conversations, even what I was going to be having for lunch. But when I started letting go and trusting myself to make decisions in the moment, I started feeling lighter, freer, more confident in my ability to handle whatever came my way. And if you want to stop overthinking, sorry, I do that word sometimes. If you want to stop overthinking and start living in the present, you have to realize that the present moment is all that you really have. The past is gone and the future is unknown. All you can do is be here right now, fully in the present. And if you keep focusing on what's next or what's already happened, you'll miss out on the opportunity to truly experience life, the life that you are living right now. So ask yourself, why are you overthinking? Why are you really afraid? Are you trying to avoid mistakes or make a perfect decision potentially? If so, stop, let go, trust yourself, and start living in the moment. Thank you for watching. Remember to be present in all that you do. Embrace it, let go of the rest, and peace out.